Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. I am going to be roasting some vegetables tonight for our side for dinner. So we like to have roasted vegetables with meat, especially when we grill. So it was a nice day out, so my husband's going to grill some steak and I'm going to start off with some vegetables. I already washed all of the vegetables. Make sure that you're giving your vegetables a nice good wash, and I already peeled the carrots as well. So the vegetables that I'm roasting up tonight are just whatever we have in the refrigerator. I've got 1 crown of broccoli, I have a green pepper, and some carrots. I also have some extra virgin olive oil and some salt, pepper, and garlic salt, but you can season them up with whatever you want. I do suggest always going with salt and pepper generously, but not excessively, because you want your vegetables to have a lot of flavor. I do have my oven preheating to 425 degrees. Roasting vegetables, you want to have them anywhere, your oven anywhere between 400 and 450 degrees. All right, so we are going to get started. So I'm going to start with my carrots first, and really for this recipe, I just kind of want them in small pieces like this, just kind of like sticks. I don't need them to be perfect. If we were looking for perfection on a carrot, there's a few ways to do that. I think the easiest, since the carrot is, there it goes, since the carrot is round, to do the rondelle cut. So you're basically just taking the carrot and making round slices, and it's a rondelle cut. So that's easiest for the carrot. However, in class, we would do some bâtonnets, we would do some juliennes, some dices, some large dices and small dices. So that takes a little bit more practice. One of the things though to keep in mind when you're cutting carrots, any vegetable, is that you've got a good firm grasp on your chef's knife. Hopefully you watched some of the videos that I provided with you on how to hold the knife, but I can tell you that in class, I always see students holding their knife with their finger on top. They think it gives them more power. It doesn't. Don't put that finger on top of your knife, okay? I like to grasp my knife. I kind of change it up a little bit. Sometimes I like to do the pincher grasp, where I grasp right there on the bottom and cut that way. Sometimes I just hold it right by the handle and I've got my grasp on the knife that way. The best advice I can give you is just to be comfortable and be safe. Carrots are a little tricky to do because they roll, right? So you want to make sure that you are cutting away from you, not towards you, and that you give a nice, that you even it out so that it's got a nice flat side to rest on. So I cut the bottom and the top off of the carrot, and now it's still unstable, so I'm going to very carefully cut it down the middle, and notice that I'm doing my claw so that I don't chop my fingers off, right? And I'm gonna very, very carefully make a flat end, and from there it's not gonna move around anymore, right? So now I can do my bâtonnet or my julienne, and I can make it pretty if I want. This is just so that I can show you guys. And you want it to be uniform in size. So your juliennes are gonna be really, really thin, whereas your bâtonnet is going to be a thicker cut. And from there, you can then work on your dicing. But again, for today, I just want kind of uniform pieces into the bowl. So like I said, I already washed my broccoli, and broccoli is pretty easy to chop up. I mean, I'm just looking for the florets and a little bit of the stem. And again, I just want to make sure as much as I can that they're all about the same size. So I'm going to take my chef's knife and just cut the bottom so that it releases this part. Whoop, and there goes one of them with me, from the rest. And then I can kind of gauge how many I'm going to have, and then I will cut off some of the stems, but that's about good. That's kind of how I want my broccoli pieces to be. You're gonna have different sizes with these because, I mean, you've got the florets, some are a little bigger, some are larger. You could actually cut it down a little bit too and break them up even more, but I like the crispy pieces. I like the ones that crisp up a lot in the oven, like the smaller ones. And my husband does not like those ones, and neither do my kids. So I'm cool with some of the smaller ones getting a little crispier. I'll eat those. But and again, I'm just throwing all of those into the bowl. Perfect. And yeah, broccoli's done. That's the easiest one for sure. So the broccoli's done. I'm gonna clean this up and get started on my green pepper. Okay, so I have a green pepper on hand. We also like to do this with orange peppers and yellow and red peppers. We really love the colorful peppers in our house, but I did have an extra green pepper and it's probably not going to last for a few more days. So I am going to just use it tonight in our vegetables. So what I'm going to do with my green pepper is start off by cutting off the top. So I'm going to just cut off the top of my pepper. There we go. I'm gonna just put this guy aside because we're gonna use him. And then I'm gonna take out the middle, my seeds. And I'm also going to just give this kind of a shake to see if I can get, there goes a flying seed, to get any seeds out. Now, this was really easy to get the seeds out of, but I've cut up many peppers in my life, and I can tell you that is not the case for all of them. So just be mindful that when you are cutting up peppers, you want to make sure that you have all the seeds out. Unless you're cutting up a jalapeno pepper and you like it really, really spicy, then go for it. I do not like jalapeno seeds though, too spicy for me. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is just make a small, get the paper towel out of the way, make a small cut down here. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I'm just kidding. There's a few ways to cut up peppers, and it kind of depends on what I'm making here, but I do like to actually cut off the bottom part too. I forgot to tell you that. Oh, and look at, little seed got in there too. How'd he get in there? He was hiding. Okay, so I'm going to save that there. Then you make your slit down and you can roll it out just like that. And then very carefully, you would take your knife, okay? And you can, again, very, very carefully, very slowly start cutting out those inner pieces that you don't want to eat. Some of that flesh in there. Ugh. Very, very careful. Perfect. So now that you have your pepper in this state, you can do a few things. We always have pepper strips in our house, preferably the red, yellow, and orange pepper. I don't know why I couldn't think of the colors there, red, yellow, and orange pepper. And my kids just like to eat them as strips. So basically what you would do for that is just take your piece of the pepper and, again, cutting away from my body, cut them into strips. So we can do that for this dish since my carrots were in strips. I can do that and throw them in there. Or I can just cut them into squares, like uniform chunks. It really doesn't matter. Either way is fine. I think that for this, let's see. You know what? I think I'm just gonna cut them into squares. I'll take those. I'll leave the strips in there, whatever. Cut them into squares. Again, you just want to try to make sure that they're about uniform. So then I can even stack these up and give them a cut. Okay, whoop, that one's a little too big. I'll make sure that that one's cut. Okay, so, and then I can also take the top and bottom and put those in there as well. But actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to be dicing these up, and I like to freeze them to put them in chili or when I make soups. So I'm going to actually reserve these so that I can chop them up a little later. So all my chopping is done. So now I'm ready to season my vegetables. So I am going to use some extra virgin olive oil. I would say, you know, again, you don't have to do an exact measurement. I just kind of drizzle it all in there. But I would say roughly about 2 tablespoons maybe. So 1, 2. That might have been a little more than 2 tablespoons. That was very generous, but I have a lot of vegetables in here. So then I'm going to just coat all of those with the olive oil. I did use a little bit too much, I think, but that's okay. That's okay. Got a lot of vegetables in here. All right. Perfect. It's so colorful, so pretty, so healthy, so healthy. So then I am going to season it with some salt and some pepper. And I also have a little bit of garlic and herb. This is a salt-free mix, so this is a nice option if you're watching your sodium, keeping it a little healthier. This is just by Mrs. Dash. It's a garlic and herb seasoning, and I'm gonna throw that in there as well. We also sometimes will use garlic salt or garlic powder, onion powder, whatever you want. Sometimes I'll just throw a little bit of garlic and some onions in there as well. Just gives it a nice different flavor. If you hear the pitter pattering of little feet, that again is my kids waiting for dinner. All right. Okay, so we want to make sure that's all nice and coated, and then I'm going to stick that onto my sheet pan. So I have my sheet pan, and I like to line it with aluminum foil, just a little bit easier cleanup. If you don't have aluminum foil at home, not a problem. I would just give your sheet pan a spray before putting these on there. Now, the key with these, let's start there, woo, is that vegetables need a lot of space to roast. So you don't want to cram all of them on one little sheet pan. They need some space. They need some room to breathe. So I'm going to spread these out as much as I can. A nice option to throw in here too, some potatoes. If you like potatoes, that would be a good option to throw in here as well, or sweet potatoes. I love doing like a sweet potato and white potato medley. One of my favorites, especially in the summer. So you can see that I've got my sheet pan ready. So I'm going to throw these into my oven. Again, it was set at 425, and I'm going to put them in for about, I would assume it's going to take about 15 minutes for these. I will let you know, but I do want to check on them and just kind of move them around a little bit about midway through. So we'll check back and see how long this takes. All right, so these have been in for about 14 minutes, and they are about to our liking. So I can pierce the vegetables with a fork, which we like. I mean, I could definitely do that with the peppers. The carrots are gonna be a little bit crunchier, but again, we kind of like that. And then the broccoli is getting a nice char on it, again, which I like, but we don't want it too much or else my family won't eat them. So I think that these are ready. So my vegetables are plated, and like I said, I am just enjoying them with some steak today, and this is really like my perfect meal. And they're nice and crunchy, perfectly seasoned. Again, don't miss out on that seasoning. Kind of makes it. Peppers. Perfect. You don't want the peppers to get too soft. These still have a really nice crunch to them. So hopefully this gives you guys an incentive to try vegetables, because if you're not a big fan of vegetables, if you roast them, I promise that you might just like them a little bit more than you hated them before. It's just a different way of trying them. As long as you season them up, they taste really good. You're getting that nutritional value that vegetables bring, and really good side for lunch, for dinner, or just, on its own. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.